Have you ever wondered what it will feel like when the same people who doubted you, abandoned you, talked behind your back, and celebrated your struggles are forced to witness your breakthrough with their own eyes? Stay with me, because this message is for someone who has cried in silence, carried betrayal in their heart, and questioned why God allowed certain people to hurt them. What you thought was the end of your story was actually the beginning of God's preparation. Every betrayal, every rejection, and every painful disappointment was shaping you for a moment that is closer than you think. God is not only about to bless you, He is about to bless you openly, publicly, and unmistakably. The very people who underestimated your destiny will become witnesses to His favor upon your life. So if you've been feeling discouraged, overlooked, or forgotten, hear this clearly. God has not forgotten your tears, your prayers, or your faithfulness. He is setting the stage for a divine turnaround that no person can stop. And when it happens, those who betrayed you will have no choice but to recognize that God's hand has been on your life all along. Betrayal is one of the most painful experiences a person can endure because it comes from people you trusted, cared about, and often sacrificed for. The wounds caused by strangers may hurt for a moment, but the wounds caused by those closest to you can leave lasting scars on the heart. Yet, one of the greatest truths found throughout life is that what appears to be a devastating betrayal is often part of a greater preparation. Many people spend years asking why certain relationships ended, why certain friends turned against them, or why people they supported suddenly abandoned them when they needed support the most. The answer is not always immediately visible. Sometimes God allows people to leave your life because they cannot go where He is taking you. Sometimes He permits betrayal, not to destroy you, but to reveal your strength, your purpose, and your dependence on Him rather than on human approval. When betrayal happens, the natural reaction is to become bitter, angry, and consumed with thoughts of revenge. Human nature wants justice immediately. We want people who hurt us to experience the same pain they caused us. However, growth begins when we understand that our greatest victory is not getting even, it is becoming better. Betrayal has a way of exposing what is truly in our hearts. It reveals our weaknesses, our fears, and our emotional dependencies. While the experience may feel unfair, it often becomes the very tool that develops wisdom, resilience, and spiritual maturity. The person you become after surviving betrayal is often stronger than the person you were before it happened. Throughout history, many great individuals experienced betrayal before stepping into their greatest seasons of influence. They were misunderstood, rejected, criticized, and abandoned. Yet those painful experiences prepared them for responsibilities they could not have handled otherwise. Betrayal teaches lessons that comfort never can. It teaches discernment. It teaches patience. It teaches you to value character over appearances. Most importantly, it teaches you that your destiny cannot be dependent upon the opinions of people. If your future were tied to human loyalty alone, your progress would always be vulnerable to human weakness. Instead, God uses difficult experiences to remind you that your purpose comes from Him. One reason betrayal feels so devastating is because it attacks our expectations. We expect loyalty from certain people. We assume they will always stand beside us. We imagine they will celebrate our success and support us through challenges. When those expectations are shattered, disappointment enters our hearts. Yet sometimes the removal of certain people becomes the beginning of true freedom. Individuals who betray you often reveal that they were never assigned to your future. Their departure creates room for healthier relationships, greater opportunities, and deeper trust in God's guidance. What initially feels like loss can become divine protection. Preparation rarely feels pleasant while it is happening. Athletes endure exhausting training before victory. Builders spend months laying foundations before structures rise. Likewise, God often works on your character before He elevates your position. Betrayal can become part of that preparation process because it teaches humility and endurance. It strips away dependence on external validation and builds confidence rooted in purpose. Instead of seeking approval from people, you begin seeking alignment with God's plan. That shift changes everything, because people may reject you, but they cannot cancel what God has already ordained for your life. There are moments when you may look back and realize that the betrayal you once cried over actually redirected your path towards something far greater. The closed door protected you from a wrong destination. The broken relationship prevented future harm. The rejection pushed you to discover abilities and strengths you never knew existed. What felt like an attack was often preparation in disguise. While you were focused on the pain, God was focused on the process. While you were mourning what left, He was preparing what was coming today. If you are carrying the weight of betrayal, remember that your story is not over. The pain you experienced is not the final chapter. What others intended to weaken you can become the very thing that strengthens you. Every disappointment can become a lesson. Every setback can become preparation. Every betrayal can become proof that God is working behind the scenes. Trust the process even when it is difficult to understand. The same experience that nearly broke you may one day become the testimony that inspires others. What feels like rejection today may be preparation for a blessing tomorrow. And when that blessing arrives, you will realize that God was guiding your steps all along. One of the most comforting truths a person can hold onto during seasons of hardship is the knowledge that God sees everything. He sees the tears that no one else notices. He hears the prayers whispered in the middle of the night when the world is asleep. He understands the pain hidden behind forced smiles and the battles fought silently within the heart. There are moments in life when it feels as though nobody understands what you are carrying. Friends may misunderstand you. Family may overlook your struggles. And people may judge you based on what they see on the surface. Yet even when human eyes fail to recognize your pain, God's eyes never miss a single detail. He sees every sacrifice, every act of faithfulness, and every moment you choose to keep going despite feeling exhausted. Many people become discouraged because they believe their efforts are going unnoticed. They continue doing the right thing while others seem to prosper through dishonesty. They remain loyal while others betray them. They keep giving while receiving very little in return. During those seasons, it is easy to wonder whether faithfulness really matters. The temptation to quit becomes strong because immediate rewards are often absent. However, God operates on a timetable that is different from ours. What appears to be silence is not absence. What feels like delay is not denial. Behind the scenes, God is watching every decision, every sacrifice, and every act of obedience that others fail to appreciate. There is something powerful about knowing that your struggles are not invisible to heaven. Every tear carries a story. Some tears come from betrayal. Some come from disappointment. Others come from loneliness, rejection, or uncertainty about the future. People may dismiss those tears because they do not fully understand what caused them. But God understands perfectly. He knows the moments when you felt abandoned. He knows the times you were unfairly judged. He knows the prayers you prayed when you did not know where else to turn. Nothing escapes His attention. While people often focus on appearances, God looks directly at the heart and sees the burdens you carry that nobody else knows about. Faithfulness is often tested in private before it is rewarded in public. Many individuals dream of visible success, but few appreciate the hidden sacrifices required to reach it. There are seasons when doing the right thing seems to bring more challenges than rewards. You may choose integrity while others choose shortcuts. You may choose forgiveness while others choose bitterness. You may choose patience while others act recklessly. Those choices are not always easy, and they are not always celebrated by the people around you. Yet every act of faithfulness matters because God sees what others overlook. The world may only notice the outcome, but God values the process. Sometimes people assume that because God is silent, He is inactive. That assumption leads many to lose hope. Yet some of God's greatest works happen during seasons when nothing appears to be changing. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean God is not working. Seeds grow beneath the soil, long before anyone sees evidence on the surface. Likewise, blessings are often developing, long before they become visible. The sacrifices you make today may be preparing the harvest you experience tomorrow. Every prayer, every act of kindness, and every moment of perseverance is contributing to a future that God is carefully shaping. One of the greatest mistakes people make is measuring their worth by the recognition they receive from others. Human approval is temporary and unpredictable. People can praise you one day and criticize you the next. If your confidence depends entirely on their opinions, your peace will constantly be at risk. True security comes from understanding that God sees your value even when others do not. He sees your efforts when nobody applauds. He sees your integrity when nobody is watching. He sees your sacrifices when nobody says thank you. That knowledge gives strength during difficult seasons because it reminds you that your labor is never wasted. The truth is that God does not forget faithfulness. He does not ignore obedience. He does not overlook the sacrifices made in love, service, and trust. What seems unnoticed on earth is fully recognized in heaven. The tears you shed in private are known to Him. The prayers you prayed in desperation are remembered. The moments when you chose faith instead of fear are recorded. Even when life feels unfair, you can hold on to the assurance that God sees it all. So if you are walking through a difficult season today, remember this: your tears have not been wasted, and your sacrifices have not been forgotten. God sees every struggle, every effort, and every act of faithfulness. What others overlook, He remembers. What others dismiss, He values. And in His perfect timing, He has a way of turning hidden faithfulness into visible blessing. The God who sees every tear is also the God who rewards perseverance, and His timing is always worth the wait. There are seasons in life when it feels like everything God is doing is hidden. Your prayers are private. Your struggles are private. Your growth is private. You continue moving forward while very few people recognize the battles you have fought to get where you are. During those moments, it can seem as though your efforts are unnoticed and your faithfulness is producing no visible results. Yet one of the most powerful truths you can hold on to is that God's favor is not meant to remain hidden forever. There comes a time when divine favor becomes visible, undeniable, and impossible for others to ignore. The same God who works behind the scenes is also capable of displaying His blessings openly for everyone to see. Many people misunderstand favor. They think favor means a life without challenges, obstacles, or disappointments. In reality, favor often exists even in difficult seasons. God's hand can be upon your life while you are facing rejection. His presence can be with you while doors are closing. His guidance can be directing you while circumstances appear confusing. Favor is not the absence of problems. It is the assurance that God is working through every situation for a greater purpose. Sometimes the greatest evidence of favor is not what happens to you, but what God brings you through. There are countless moments when people may underestimate you because they only see your current circumstances. They judge your future based on your present condition. They assume that because you are struggling today, you will struggle forever. They overlook your potential because they are focused on your temporary setbacks. Yet God does not evaluate people the way the world does. He sees possibilities where others see limitations. He sees purpose where others see failure. He sees a future that extends far beyond the difficulties you are experiencing right now. What others dismiss, God develops. What others reject, God often elevates. One of the reasons divine favor is so powerful is because it cannot be manufactured by human effort alone. People can create appearances, but they cannot create genuine favor. Favor opens doors that qualifications alone cannot open. Favor creates opportunities that seem impossible according to human logic. Favor places individuals in positions they never imagined reaching. It is the invisible hand of God arranging circumstances, connecting people, and orchestrating events in ways that exceed human understanding. When God's favor begins moving in your life, situations that once seemed impossible suddenly become possible, there is often a period of preparation before favor becomes visible. During that time, God is building character, strengthening faith, and teaching lessons that will be necessary for the next season. Unfortunately, many people become discouraged during this preparation phase because they focus only on what they do not have. They compare their journey to others and wonder why progress seems slow. What they fail to realize is that God is preparing them for blessings they are not yet able to see. Every challenge, every delay, and every difficult lesson is contributing to a greater purpose. The preparation may be hidden, but the results will eventually become visible. One of the most remarkable aspects of God's favor is that it often appears when people least expect it. The individuals who doubted you may suddenly witness your breakthrough. Those who underestimated your abilities may be surprised by your success. People who assumed your story was over may watch as a new chapter unfolds before their eyes. Not because you sought revenge or validation, but because God chose to reveal what He had been doing behind the scenes all along. Divine favor has a way of speaking for itself. It does not require endless explanations or arguments. The results become the testimony. When favor becomes visible, it is important to remain humble. The purpose of God's blessing is not to create pride, but gratitude. The same God who opens doors can also teach us how to walk through them wisely. Visible favor should inspire thankfulness, not arrogance. It should remind us that every opportunity, every breakthrough, and every success ultimately comes from God's grace. Humility allows us to handle blessings responsibly and continue trusting God as new opportunities arise. If you are currently in a season where nothing seems to be changing, do not lose hope. Just because favor is hidden does not mean it is absent. God may be working in ways you cannot yet see. He may be arranging opportunities, preparing relationships, and positioning you for a breakthrough that will arrive at the right time. The hidden season is not the final season. The struggle is not the entire story. There is a moment coming when the favor of God will become visible in your life, and what once seemed impossible will become reality. When that day arrives, you will understand that every challenge, every delay, and every tear was part of a process designed to reveal God's goodness in a way that everyone can see. There comes a moment in many people's lives when the results of perseverance become so evident that even those who doubted them can no longer deny what has happened. For a long time, critics may have questioned your abilities, underestimated your potential, and predicted your failure. Some may have spoken negatively about your dreams. Others may have quietly waited for you to give up. Yet one of the most powerful realities of God's work in a person's life is that success has a way of silencing voices that once seemed loud and intimidating. Not because you argue with your critics or spend your energy proving them wrong, but because your breakthrough speaks louder than their opinions ever could. Doubt from others can be painful, especially when it comes from people whose support you expected. There is something discouraging about sharing a dream only to have someone dismiss it. There is something heartbreaking about working hard toward a goal while hearing constant reminders of why it supposedly cannot be achieved. Over time, repeated criticism can cause people to question themselves. They begin wondering whether the doubters might be right. Fear enters their minds, confidence weakens, and uncertainty starts influencing decisions. Yet many people fail to realize that the opinions of others are not reliable indicators of what God is capable of doing in their lives. History is filled with examples of individuals who were doubted before they succeeded. People often judge based on present circumstances because that is all they can see. They evaluate potential through the lens of current limitations. If resources are limited, they assume progress is impossible. If obstacles are visible, they assume defeat is inevitable. What they overlook is that God specializes in accomplishing extraordinary things through ordinary people and difficult situations. Human logic often says something cannot happen, while God is already preparing a way for it to happen. This is why it is dangerous to build your future around the expectations of people, rather than the promises of God. One reason breakthroughs are so powerful is because they reveal what was happening behind the scenes all along. While others saw struggle, God was building strength. While others saw delays, God was arranging opportunities. While others saw setbacks, God was creating preparation. The doubters only witnessed fragments of the story, but God saw the entire picture. That is why breakthrough moments often surprise people. They cannot understand how someone moved from difficulty to victory because they were never aware of the process that produced the result. What looked like inactivity was actually preparation. What appeared to be failure was often growth taking place beneath the surface. It is important to understand that your goal should never be to live for the purpose of proving people wrong. When your motivation becomes centered on revenge or validation, your peace becomes dependent upon the reactions of others. True success comes from fulfilling your purpose, not from winning arguments. The beauty of breakthrough is that it happens naturally when you remain faithful to the path God has given you. Instead of spending years defending yourself against criticism, you focus on growth, discipline, faith, and obedience. Eventually, the results speak for themselves. Actions often communicate more powerfully than explanations ever could. There are people who may never apologize for doubting you. Some individuals will never admit they were wrong. Others may try to act as though they supported you all along. That is why your satisfaction cannot come from receiving recognition from those who criticized you. Your satisfaction must come from knowing that you remained faithful despite the obstacles. The greatest victory is not hearing doubters change their opinions. It is becoming the person God called you to be regardless of their opinions. When your identity is rooted in God's purpose, the approval or disapproval of others loses much of its power. Breakthroughs also serve as encouragement for others who are facing similar challenges. When people witness someone overcoming obstacles, surviving betrayal, and achieving what once seemed impossible, hope is created. Your testimony becomes evidence that difficult circumstances do not have to determine someone's future. The same breakthrough that silences doubters can inspire believers. It reminds others that setbacks are temporary and that perseverance has value. What God does in your life can become a source of strength for someone who is currently struggling to keep faith alive. If you are facing criticism, rejection, or doubt today, remember that you do not need to spend your energy fighting every negative voice. Continue growing, continue trusting God, continue moving forward even when progress feels slow. The breakthrough you are praying for may be closer than you realize. And when it arrives, it will not merely change your circumstances. It will become living proof that God's plans are greater than human opinions. The voices that once predicted your downfall will be overshadowed by the evidence of God's faithfulness. Your breakthrough will speak louder than every doubt, every criticism, and every limitation that others tried to place upon your life. One of the most encouraging truths a believer can hold on to is that when God decides to bless someone, no person has the power to stop it. People may try to create obstacles. They may spread rumors, withhold support, or even work against your progress. Yet, human opposition can never overpower divine purpose. This is a lesson that many people discover only after walking through seasons of disappointment, betrayal, and resistance. What initially appears to be a powerful force standing in your way often turns out to be powerless against the plans God has already established for your life. When God opens a door, no human being can permanently close it. And when He has ordained a blessing for you, no amount of negativity can cancel what He has prepared. Many individuals spend years worrying about the people who seem determined to hinder their success. They become consumed by thoughts about critics, competitors, and enemies. Fear begins to influence their decisions because they believe someone else's actions have complete control over their future. While people can certainly create challenges, they do not possess ultimate authority over your destiny. That authority belongs to God alone. Understanding this truth brings a level of peace that cannot be found through human reassurance. It allows you to focus less on opposition and more on obedience. Instead of constantly looking over your shoulder, you can move forward with confidence, knowing that God's power is greater than any resistance you may encounter. Throughout life, there will always be individuals who underestimate what God can do through you. Some may judge you based on your background. Others may focus on your past mistakes. Some may believe your limitations are too great to overcome. They look at your circumstances and conclude that your dreams are impossible. What they fail to understand is that God is not limited by the factors that limit human thinking. He is not restricted by a lack of resources, difficult situations, or unfavorable opinions. The same God who created opportunities where none existed before is still able to make a way when circumstances seem impossible. Human calculations may predict failure, but God's power is capable of producing outcomes that no one expected. One reason people become discouraged is because they mistake delay for denial. They assume that because a blessing has not arrived yet, it never will. They see obstacles appearing in their path and conclude that their opportunity has been lost forever. Yet many times, delays are simply part of God's process. A blessing that is delayed is not necessarily a blessing that has been cancelled. God often works according to a timetable that is different from our own. While we focus on immediate results, He focuses on long-term purpose. What feels slow to us may actually be perfect timing from His perspective. The challenge is maintaining faith during the waiting season. Opposition itself is not always evidence that you are moving in the wrong direction. In fact, some of the greatest breakthroughs occur after periods of intense resistance. Every meaningful accomplishment requires perseverance. Every significant purpose encounters obstacles. The presence of difficulty does not mean God has abandoned you. Sometimes it means you are growing stronger. Sometimes it means your faith is being refined. And sometimes it means God is preparing you for a level of blessing that requires greater character, wisdom, and maturity. What looks like a barrier today may become part of the testimony you share tomorrow. There is tremendous freedom in realizing that you do not have to fight every battle on your own. Many people exhaust themselves trying to defend their reputation, respond to every critic, and overcome every obstacle through personal effort alone. While responsibility and hard work are important, there are situations where only God can provide the breakthrough. Learning to trust Him in those moments brings peace. It allows you to release burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. Instead of constantly worrying about who may be against you, you can focus on remaining faithful to what God has called you to do. The reality is that God's blessings are stronger than human resistance. People may attempt to delay your progress, but they cannot destroy God's purpose. They may misunderstand your journey, but they cannot rewrite the destiny He has planned. They may refuse to support you, but they cannot stop the opportunities He chooses to provide. What God has ordained for your life does not depend entirely on human approval. His favor operates beyond the limitations of human influence. If you are currently facing opposition, remember this truth. The power of God is greater than the power of people. The challenges before you are not bigger than His ability to guide you through them. Stay faithful, stay patient, continue trusting Him, even when circumstances seem uncertain. The blessing God has prepared for you is not vulnerable to the opinions, actions, or resistance of others. When His timing arrives, doors will open, opportunities will appear, and breakthroughs will happen in ways that only He can orchestrate. And when that moment comes, you will look back and realize that despite every obstacle, every betrayal, and every attempt to stop you, God's plan remained undefeated. His blessing could not be cancelled, because what God has determined, no person can permanently stand against.